Welcome to SST Zone. Students, we are studying our history third chapter, the Delhi Sultan. In our last video, we have studied how Delhi became the capital of the Sultans. We have also studied about the slave dynasty, and we have studied about how the chroniclers were preparing their records. So now today we will see how the Sultan administrate their dynasty. In our today's topic, a closer look administration and consolidation under the Khiljis and Tughlaqs. So first of all, we will see the administration and consolidation under the Khiljis. The last ruler of the slave dynasty, Kekubad, was murdered in 1290 by a Khilji noble named Jalaluddin Khilji, and he became the ruler of Delhi. At that time, he was 70 years old and ruled for a brief period of only 6 years. In 1296 AD, Alauddin Khilji, his nephew and son-in-law, murdered him and captured the throne. So here we will see the administration and consolidation which has started by Khiljis and Tughlaqs, because many similarities are there in their administration. So let's see. To have reliable governors, the early Delhi Sultans, especially Iltutmish, favored their special slaves purchased for military services, called Bandagan in Persian. जब अलाउद्दीन खिलजी और तुगलक वंश के शासकों ने सत्ता संभाली तो उस समय पे उनको अपने लिए विश्वास पात्र सैनिक भी चाहिए थे। तो उन्होंने उन सैनिकों की जगह पे जो उनके विशेष गुलाम होते थे, उन गुलामों को वो खरीदते थे, और जब वो उनके विश्वास पात्र बन जाते थे उसके बाद वो उनको अपनी सेना में जो सीनियर मोस्ट पोस्ट होती थी वो पोस्ट देते थे, और उनको पर्शियन लैंग्वेज यूज़ करते थे, तो पारसी में उन्हें बंदगान भी कहा जाता था। The Khiljis and Tughlaqs continued to use Bandagan and also raised people of humble birth who were often their clients. Means those were the Khiljis and Tughlaqs. They have started to give protection to their clients. Clients means those were under the protection of Khiljis and Tughlaqs. And for their clients, they were providing them the higher posts as generals and governors. However, these also introduced an element of political instability. मीन्स जब खिलजी और तुगलक शासकों ने अपने पे जो डिपेंडेंट होते थे उन लोगों को बड़े बड़े पदों में बैठाना शुरू किया, तो इससे उनकी जो राजनीतिक व्यवस्था थी उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा इंस्टेबिलिटी यानी कि अस्थिरता पैदा होने लगी। In that case, those were the gulams and the clients. They were only loyal for their masters. They were not loyal to their heirs. Then after that, those were the new sultans. They were having their own servants. As a result, the accession of a new monarch often saw conflict between the old and the new nobility. मीन्स जब भी कोई नए राजा बनते थे उनके अपने गुलाम या फिर अपने वफादार होते थे, तो जिसकी वजह से क्या होता था कि जो नए राजा या सुल्तान होते थे और जो पुराने सुल्तान होते थे उनके बीच में धीरे धीरे लड़ाइयाँ शुरू होने लगती थी। The military commanders were appointed as governors of different seized territories by the Khiljis and Tuglaq monarchs. These territories were called Ikta, and their holder was called Iqtedar or Mukti. The Muktis performed the duty of leading military campaigns and maintaining law and order in their Ikta. They collected revenues of their assignments as salary. The accountants were appointed by the state to check the amount of revenue collected by the Muktis. There was proper control regarding the Mukti collecting only the taxes prescribed by the state, and that he kept the required number of soldiers. Means जो पहले वाले सुल्तान थे उन्हीं की तरह खिलजी और तुगलकों ने भी अपने जो आर्मी के मेन थे हेड, उनको भी अलग अलग एरियाज़ में जनरल बना दिया। और जो एरिया उनको दिया जाता था वो एरिया तो इक्ता कहलाता था, और इन ऑफिसर्स को बोला जाता था इक्तेदार या मुक्ति। तो मुक्ति का काम था कि जैसे आपने देखा होगा पिक्चर्स में सेनापति होते हैं, तो सेम एज द मुक्तिज वर ऑल्सो डूइंग द वर्क, दे वर लीडिंग their troops and they were collecting the tax and they are maintaining the law and orders. Even to check the work of the muktis or iqtidars, the sultans appointed few revenue collectors. Those were checking the work of muktis or iqtidars. They were checking that the muktis or iqtidars must be loyal with their sultans, and whatever they are doing means the tax collecting and the maintenance of the army, they have to maintain it according to the sultan, not by their own. यानी कि वो जो भी काम करेंगे वो सुल्तान के हिसाब से होगा, अपने हिसाब से वो नहीं कर सकते थे कुछ भी काम। As the Delhi Sultans brought the hinterland of the cities under their control, they forced the landed chieftains or the samantas, aristocrats, and rich landlords to accept their authority. Under Alauddin Khilji, the state brought the assessment and collection of land revenue under its own control. The rights of the local chieftains to levy taxes were cancelled, and they were also forced to pay taxes. The sultan's administrators measured the land and kept careful accounts. After controlling over the country and the hinterlands, means those are far from the mainstream cities, the sultans and their samantas started to force the rich landlords to pay tax. They have started to collect the land revenue under their control. For that, they appointed सामंतास। जब दिल्ली के सुल्तानों ने सारे देश पर अपना कब्जा जमाना शुरू कर दिया और उसी के साथ जो हिंटरलैंड यानी कि जो एरियाज सिटीज़ से कनेक्ट नहीं होते थे, दूर के एरियाज, उन पे भी अपना कंट्रोल कर लिया, तो धीरे धीरे उन्होंने जो अमीर थे या जमींदार थे उनके ऊपर प्रेशर डालना शुरू किया कि वो टैक्स पे करें, और उस टैक्स को कलेक्ट करने के लिए उन लोगों ने सामंत जो होते थे उनको उसमें अपॉइंट किया। The Sultan's administrators measured the land and kept careful accounts. Some of the old chieftains and landlords served the Sultanate as revenue collectors and assessors. There were three types of taxes on cultivation called kharaj and amounting to about 50% of the peasants' products. Second, on cattle, and the third one is on houses. तो जब सुल्तान के जो टैक्स कलेक्टर थे, जो उन्होंने टैक्स कलेक्टिंग के जो रूल बनाए थे, उसमें उन्होंने 3 टाइप के टैक्स लगाए। एक जो फर्स्ट नंबर का टैक्स था जिसे कि खराज बोला जाता था, तो वो जो भी कल्टीवेशन होता था किसान का, उसका 50% उनको राजा के लिए देना पड़ता था। दूसरा टैक्स उन्होंने लगाया था कैटल्स यानी कि जानवरों पे, और तीसरा टैक्स लगाया था उन्होंने हाउसेस पे। इफ वी विल टॉक अबाउट द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव चैलेंजेस, बोथ सुल्तान्स अलाउद्दीन खिलजी एंड मोहम्मद तुगलक, they faced many problems. One of them is the attack of Mongols. The Mongols under Genghis Khan invaded Transoxiana. In the modern days, it is known as Uzbekistan in northeast Iran. In 1290, and the Delhi Sultanate faced their onslaught soon after. Mongol attacks on the Delhi Sultanate increased during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and in the early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's rule. यहाँ पर हम बहुत सारे सिमिलरिटीज़ अलाउद्दीन खिलजी और मोहम्मद तुगलक के जो टाइम पीरियड था उसमें देखते हैं। जैसे कि इनके जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन सिस्टम था वो सेम था, ऐसे ही इन दोनों ने जो मंगोल्स थे उनके अटैक्स फेस किए थे। स्पेशली वो टाइम पीरियड था अलाउद्दीन खिलजी का और तुगलक्स डायनेस्टीज़ में मोहम्मद तुगलक का जब शासन था, उस समय पे चंगेज़ खान ने, जो कि एक मंगोल एम्परर था, उसने अटैक किए थे। दिस फोर्स्ड the two rulers to mobilize a large standing army in Delhi, which posed a huge administrative challenges. और जो ये कंडीशन थी चंगेज़ खान के अटैक्स की, इसकी वजह से इन दोनों रूलर्स को बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा भी खर्च करना पड़ रहा था और बार बार उनको दिल्ली से जहाँ पे भी अटैकिंग के एरियाज़ होते थे वहाँ पे अपनी सेना को लेके जाना पड़ता था। So here we will see how Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq deal with these problems. So here a closer look which is displaying on your screen. At the first, the attack. As Alauddin Khilji, Delhi was attacked twice in 1299 or 1300 and 1302 to 1303. As a defensive measure, Alauddin Khilji raised a large standing army. And if we will talk about the Tughlaq's dynasty, the same problem faced by Muhammad Tughlaq. But he was sure and confident about the strength of his army. So he has made so many plans to attack and डिफेंस। सिमिलरिटी की बात करते हैं तो जब मंगोल्स का अटैक अलाउद्दीन खिलजी पर हुआ तो उसने इस अटैक को 2 बार झेला, बट उसने अपनी आर्मी के थ्रू अपने शासन को संभाल लिया। ऐसे ही अगर हम बात करते हैं मोहम्मद तुगलक की, तो उसके पास इतने ज़्यादा रिसोर्सेस थे कि वो खुद ऐसे प्लानिंग कर सकता था जिससे वो मंगोल्स पे अटैक खुद कर सकता था क्योंकि उसके पास बहुत बड़ी आर्मी थी। If we will talk about the construction, Alauddin Khilji constructed a garrison town named Siri. And about the Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he has constructed a new garrison town for his army. The oldest of the four cities of Delhi was emptied and he made a new garrison town for his army. He also shifted his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. मीन्स अपनी आर्मी के लिए अलाउद्दीन खिलजी ने एक गैरिसन टाउन, जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया था, गैरिसन टाउन जहाँ पे आर्मी के लोग रहते थे, तो वो गैरिसन टाउन जिसका कि नाम सीरी था वो बसाया। अगर हम बात करें तुगलक की, तो उसने भी पुराने गैरिसन सिटी को हटा करके अपनी आर्मी को नई जगह पे शिफ्ट किया। साथ ही साथ उसने अपनी कैपिटल को भी दिल्ली से चेंज करके दौलताबाद बना दिया। If we will talk the food supplies in the both dynasties, they have started to feed their army. Means at the Sultanate of Alauddin Khilji, the tax was fixed at 50% of the peasants' yield, through which they are paying for their army. And if we will talk about Tughlaq's dynasty, they were collecting tax to feed their army. For that, they were collecting the food from the nearby areas, and the tax was also a source to maintain the army expenditures. For the salary, the soldiers paid by the taxes which were collected by the Iqtas in Khilji's Sultanate. In Tughlaq's Sultanate, the soldiers were paid by the taxes. For that, Muhammad Tughlaq started a new currency which was known as token because it was a cheap metal, not gold or silver. So people did not trust these coins. So we can say the token policy of Tughlaq was failed. If we will compare the administrative measures, so whatever administrative measures made by Alauddin Khilji, they were successful. But the administrative measures which were made by Muhammad Tughlaq were a failure. The system of token currency and the changing the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad was a big failure. But as we have seen so many things, those are similar and different in both dynasties. And Tughlaq was not a good administrator, but it was first time in the history of the Sultanate a Delhi Sultan planned a campaign to capture Mongol territory. Unlike Alauddin's defensive measures, Muhammad Tughlaq's measures were conceived as a part of military offensive against the Mongols. स्टूडेंट्स, यहाँ पर जब हमने कंपैरिजन किया तो हमने ये देखा कि अलाउद्दीन खिलजी का शासन मोहम्मद तुगलक के शासन से बहुत अच्छा था। पर अगर हम बात करते हैं सैनिकों की, तो भारत के इतिहास में ऐसा पहली बार हुआ था कि किसी शासक ने बाहरी आक्रमणों को, स्पेशली मंगोलों के आक्रमण को न केवल रोकने की कोशिश करी थी, बल्कि उनके ऊपर आक्रमण की योजना भी बनाने की कोशिश करी। If you will notice that after the Tughlaqs, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties ruled from Delhi and Agra until 1526. By then, Jaunpur, Bengal, Malwa, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and the entire South India had independent rulers who established flourishing states and prosperous capital. This was also the period which was the emergence of new ruling groups like the Afghans and the Rajputs. खिलजी और तुगलक सल्तनत के बाद जब 15th और 16th सेंचुरीज चल रही थी, उस समय पे जो शासक आए वो सैयद और लोदी डायनेस्टीज के थे। उन्होंने मेनली दिल्ली और आगरा पे ही शासन किया, बट जो उसके अलावा जो एरिया थे और साथ में साउथ इंडिया, वहाँ पे बहुत सारे इंडिपेंडेंट रूलर बन गए थे। वो सारे ही प्रॉस्पेरियस थे और इसी के साथ साथ इसी टाइम पे कुछ और डायनेस्टीज भी आने लगी जो कि अफगान और राजपूत थे। Some of the states established in this period were small but powerful and extremely well administrated. Sher Shah Suri 1540 to 1545 and then 1555 started his career as the manager of a small territory for his uncle in Bihar and eventually challenged and defeated the Mughal Emperor Humayun. So let's have a short look of Suri Empire 1540 to 1555. Sher Shah Suri was the most famous ruler of Suri dynasty. He was an Afghan chief who overthrew Humayun and founded the Suri dynasty. Sher Shah Suri occupied the throne of Delhi for not more than 5 years, but his reign proved a landmark in the subcontinent. He was a brilliant administrator who ruled over a huge empire extending from Bengal to the Indus. He employed a powerful army which comprised of 150,000 horses, 5,000 elephants and 250,000 foot soldiers. If we will talk about the administrative system of Suri, he also set up 1700 safaris or inns for the safe stay of the travelers. These roads and safaris promoted trade and commerce in the state. He introduced coins in gold, silver, and copper of uniform standard. He also introduced rupiah, silver coin, which later became the basis for the Mughal and British currency. Indian currency is still called rupiah. He also reduced the custom duties. Sher Shah Suri died in a gunfire explosion during the siege of Kalinjar on Bundelkhand. Sher Shah administration became the model followed by the great emperor Akbar 1556 to 1605 when he consolidated the Mughal emperor. So students, यहाँ पर हम देखते हैं कि एक ऐसा एम्परर भी था शेर शाह सूरी। उसने बहुत सारे चेंजेस हमारे जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन था उसमें किए, यहाँ तक कि उसने जो करेंसी रुपया स्टार्ट करी थी उसे हम आज भी यूज़ करते हैं और शेर शाह सूरी के ही जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मॉडल थे बाद में एम्परर अकबर ने फॉलो किए। और जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं कि अकबर को उनके बेस्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के लिए जाना जाता है, जो कि उन्होंने शेर शाह सूरी के मॉडल को देखते हुए फॉलो किए थे। सो स्टूडेंट्स, here this chapter is complete. Hope you understood this. We will know more about our Indian history in our upcoming videos. So for that, keep watching SST June.